discovered. My granddaughter's amazing words revealed a transformative truth about Christmas. Jack Miller, a once celebrated architect, stared blankly at the blueprints scattered across his desk, the outlines of dreams now faded and crumpled like his will to pursue them. The looming layoffs at the firm felt like a storm cloud, ominous and suffocating. Christmas was only weeks away, yet he felt the holiday warmth snuffed out, replaced by a cold uncertainty that settled deep in his chest. The competition was fierce, the stakes higher than ever. What if I'm next? He thought, each passing day amplifying his dread. His granddaughter, Lily, had been his beacon of joy since his wife's passing. At just 10, she seemed to sense the heaviness in the air. Jack longed to protect her from his struggles, but as they hung antique decorations dusted by time and regret, he couldn't escape the anxiety nagging at him. Her laughter echoed in the corners of their aging home, yet it felt muted by his own worries. The looming questions twisted in his mind. Would he have to trade his architectural passion for stability? Was he prepared to become just another face among the unfulfilled? As they rummaged through the attic, Jack watched Lily's hopeful face light up, revealing a hidden box. She eagerly pried it open, revealing bundles of letters written by Jack's father. Each word spilled stories of resilience, community, and a belief system that had shaped Jack's own childhood. Shouldn't he embody those values now? Wouldn't that bring healing? Yet the weight of ambition hung heavily on him. Would my father be proud? He couldn't help but wonder, the ghost of his father's disapproval lurking in the recesses of his mind. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet the question remained. Could he allow himself to let go of the material success? To chase a life where values took precedence over accolades? The internal war raged inside him, the decision enough to make his heart race and muscles tense. He sought solace in the letters, yet each flick of paper reminded him of the man he'd grown apart from, the heart he had abandoned for a career that no longer felt safe. In that moment, Lily stood before him like a lighthouse amidst crashing waves, unwavering. The upcoming Christmas pageant signaled an opportunity for her to embrace the wisdom of those letters, to share the importance of family in tough times. Yet Jack felt the dread grip him again. Could he give her a life enriched by those connections while risking everything he had built for himself? And what if, in that pursuit of authenticity, he unearthed not just freedom, but also long-lost family secrets, capable of reshaping everything he thought he knew? The pressure built within him, each heartbeat echoing the conflict between his pride and the swelling desire to redefine success. Jack sat on the precipice, contemplating not just what he would do, but who he would become. As he wrestled with this unyielding choice, an unexpected letter arrived, bearing the weight of a truth that could change everything. The air thickened with possibilities, each filled with uncertainty as he braced for an inevitable revelation with the power to alter lives forever. The letter lay unopened on his desk, its smooth surface reflecting the overhead light as Jack wrestled with an urge to rip it apart or lay it aside, a silent battle within. The delicate balance of what it meant to tear into the future with unkept secrets weighed heavily on his conscience. Each passing moment magnified the tension in his mind, urging him to seek the truth that might unravel his carefully constructed life. He picked up the envelope, his fingers shaking slightly. What truth? He wondered, words like stones lodged in his throat. He envisioned the myriad of possibilities concealed within, each potentially revolutionary, reshaping the narrative of not just his past, but also his future. Pushing back the apprehension, he tore the envelope open. The letter slid out, yellowed by time and stained with the scent of memories long since buried. As he read the elegant yet familiar handwriting, his heart began to race. It spoke of mistakes, regrets, confessions of lost opportunities that mirrored his own plight. His father's words revealed not just bouts of vulnerability, but a revelation he had never anticipated. The truth of a sibling Jack had never known, hidden from family lore, potentially reshaping everything he thought he understood about resilience and legacy. While the holiday season approached with garlands of cheer, Jack felt an urgent need to reconnect with his roots. Could this be the missing piece to his yearning for authenticity? He felt a resurgence of energy, as if awakening from a long slumber, that perhaps by excavating these buried truths, he could reflect his father's wisdom back into the world he'd built. But the thought of confronting the unknown filled him with a paralyzing dread. He glanced over at Lily, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in her grandfather's heart. Her innocence, a sharp contrast to the turmoil of adult life, beckoned him. He knew that if he embraced this moment of vitality, he could turn his dread into courage. He had spent so long anchored in a sea of professional aspirations that he had neglected the importance of emotional fulfillment. Do I have the strength to seek out this sibling? He pondered. What if I find them and it shatters everything I believe? In that moment, Jack realized that the true Christmas spirit might not lie in avoiding conflict or safeguarding his past, but rather in facing it head-on, acknowledging the layers of his identity that had yet to be revealed. His grandfatherly instincts kicked in. He had a chance not only to enrich his life, but to show Lily the profound impact of vulnerability. Standing before a decision that challenged his very foundation, he planned a course of action. The architectural blueprints before him seemed to morph into a design for uncovering connections long since lost. The blueprint for a journey that included a brother or sister he could have shared laughter and love with. Decisively, he picked up the phone to seek information on this stranger who might be part of his world. He found himself dialing a number he never thought he'd look for. The tone of the dial tone echoed starkly against the quiet hum of the room. The anticipation mounted, manifesting a cocktail of butterflies in his stomach. As the call connected, the world around him faded into a quiet hush, broken only by the beating of his heart. "Hello." A voice answered on the other end, and time stood still. Suddenly, in a path seemingly lined with creaking foundations and whispers of yesteryears, Jack found himself on the brink of not just personal revelation, but of familial rediscovery. The revelation he sought was finally at hand, and with it came the possibility of reconciliation. What he didn't know was just how transformative this new connection would be. Not just for him, but for Lily, who stood anxiously waiting in the next room, blissfully unaware of the unfolding drama that would change their lives forever. The ensnaring question hung heavy in the air. Would he dare step into the unknown and risk everything? Jack's pulse quickened as he gripped the phone tighter, an anchor in his hand where all his uncertainty spiraled. The voice on the other end, so familiar yet foreign, was that of someone who might hold the key to a family legacy he had barely known. This moment felt like an invitation, a door left ajar to a room filled with untold histories and undiscovered connections. "Is this Jack?" the voice asked, laced with cautious intrigue. It was soft, but assertive, the kind of voice that carried weight, yet comfort. It made the air around him crackle with tension. "Yes, this is Jack," he managed to reply, feeling the tremor in his voice. "I received your letter," the voice continued. "I wasn't sure if I'd ever hear from you. It feels surreal." Surreal seemed an understatement. Jack could barely wrap his mind around the reality of this conversation. He took a deep breath, summoning the resolve he had gained earlier. "I need to know about my father, his life, and Well, about you. A silence hung heavily in the air, stretching into a moment that felt dangerously fragile. There's a lot to unpack, the voice finally replied, its honesty palpable. But I think we should meet. There are things that you need to understand directly. The mere idea of meeting this sibling, this echo of his past, both thrilled and terrified him. Memories flickered through his mind. Every holiday spent alone. Every moment where he felt an absence just beyond reach. Now here was a chance to confront a part of himself he had brushed away like dust on an unkempt shelf. "Okay," he said, a strange finality to his tone. "Let's meet." As they scheduled a time and place, Jack sensed a subtle shift occurring within him. He could feel walls of self-protection cracking, and in their place emerged pathways of vulnerability. With each word exchanged, it became clear. This was more than just about his father. It was a pivotal moment in Jack's life, a chance to bridge the chasm between his past and present. "Can I ask, what's your name?" he queried, though he had an inkling of what he might hear. "Emily," she said softly, and at that moment, the name landed in his heart like a promise, a whisper of belonging. As they ended the call, Jack was left in a whirlwind of emotions. The hustle of December's preparations had faded into the background, replaced by a singular focus on Emily and the revelation she represented. He sprang to his feet, almost too energized to remain still. Every pinned aspiration of his life felt reconfigured, the purpose redrawn sharply through this newfound relationship. In the following days, Jack approached each moment with a clarity he hadn't possessed before. He rearranged his work schedule, carving out time to prepare for their meeting, not just practically, but emotionally, too. He revisited old family photographs, each glance further illuminating the gaps that had defined his understanding of himself. Each image became a puzzle piece, repositioning his identity through Emily's narrative. Lily watched him with curious eyes, upticking with questions of her own. She felt the shift in her grandfather, a newfound energy, a stirring that asked her to be vulnerable too. As the day to meet Emily approached, Jack's focus has sharpened. He wasn't simply hoping for a connection, but preparing to face the nuances of truth that would inevitably follow. The deeper Jackie dove into his familial history, the more he realized a lesson waiting for him. Reconciliation was not merely about mending ties, but also about embracing his own fragmented existence. But as he stood before the mirror that morning, a gnawing thought struck. Was he truly ready for the reality this meeting would unravel? In that reflection, his own uncertainty glared back at him, revealing fragments of doubt mingled with determination. The moment was inching closer, and Jack felt the weight of tomorrow promising revelations both anticipated and dreaded. A truth yet undisclosed, hanging in the air. With a final deep breath, he resolved that whatever awaited him with Emily was a confrontation he wouldn't shy away from. "Tomorrow," he whispered to himself, steadied by newfound resolve. "The journey begins then. But what if Emily isn't who I expect?" The doubt buried itself deeply as night fell, whispering ominous secrets that beckoned his anticipation into chaos. Jack woke up with a sense of urgency stirring within him. It was like standing at the edge of a precipice, the abyss calling to him with its unknown depths. He carefully considered the day ahead, knowing it would demand a balance between excitement and the trepidation gnawing at him. The meeting with Emily had begun to feel like a double-edged sword, filled with the potential for connection, but also the possibility of unearthing painful truths that he had long buried. As he prepared for their encounter, he mapped out an emotional strategy. Jack knew he had to remain open, willing to embrace whatever Emily might reveal. But the thought of dismantling the comfortable rhythms of his life sparked anxiety. What if she possessed a narrative that shattered his self-image? He brushed his hands through his hair, reminding himself of the determination he had felt in the past few days. In the cafe where they agreed to meet, he occupied a small table in the corner, the aroma of coffee mingling with the soft murmur of conversations around him. He stared out the window, watching snowflakes tumble silently from the sky, their delicate beauty in stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. Each flake seemed a harbinger of the unexpected, a reminder that change could be both beautiful and unsettling. As the clock ticked closer to their meeting time, Jack's mind raced through scenarios. Would Emily resemble him in some way? Would she carry the same shadows from their shared past? With every possible outcome, he felt both anticipation and dread swell in his chest. He couldn't shake the nagging fear that he might discover a sibling burdened by the same unresolved issues that had plagued him all these years. The bell above the cafe door chimed, and he turned to see her step inside. Emily was slightly hesitant, scanning the room before locking eyes with him. In that moment, something clicked. She looked remarkably like him. Same dark hair, the same intensity in her gaze. And it struck him deeply. Here stood a fragment of his history materialized before him, a testament to the father he had never known. "Jack?" she said tentatively, the smile breaking across her face, although tinged with a hint of caution. "Emily," he replied, standing to greet her with a hesitant embrace. It felt strange yet comforting, like gathering a piece of himself that had long been missing. As they settled into their seats, the initial small talk felt neutral, almost scripted. But the mask of pleasantries soon crumbled under the weight of deeper questions. Jack pressed himself to be brave, summoning the courage to confront the tremors of uncertainty within. "Can we talk about Dad?" he ventured, his words curling between them like wisps of smoke. Emily's breath hitched, her expression shifting, revealing a complex tapestry of emotions. "I was hoping you'd ask. There's so much I want to share, but it's not easy." The air between them thickened with unspoken fears and shared longings. Jack felt the walls inside him eroding. As Emily spoke, her hesitations echoed his own. They were both looking for clarity, piecing together fragments of a life woven from silences and hidden truths. Jack found himself navigating through a maze of feelings, a concoction of heartbreak, connection, and the looming shadow of uncharted territory. "Do you think it will be hard to hear?" he posed, the weight of her potential revelations beginning to settle in his gut. "I think it will be hard to bear, but it might be necessary, don't you think?" Her eyes searched his, filled with an honesty he almost found intimidating. Jack inhaled deeply, readying himself for the truths waiting to unfold. He realized he could no longer sidestep the pain that came with understanding his father's past. If he wanted to build a connection with Emily, he had to confront the essence of his family and the grief that had hovered over him. As Emily began to reveal memories and stories, the reality of his father's life, the good, the bad, formed a new image in Jack's mind. He found himself grappling with the weight of grief and the hunger for acceptance in tandem. In that moment, he discovered he could cultivate strength in vulnerability. Little by little, Emily's truths illuminated the darkness of his childhood, a beacon of hope twinkling through the haze of unresolved questions. Just as their conversation deepened, the cafe door swung open again, drawing Jack's attention to an unfamiliar face. A shadow of recognition flickered within him, and instinctively, his heart raced. What was the connection? "Jack," Emily interrupted his thoughts, her voice breaking through his spiral. "There's something I haven't told you about, Dad." His pulse quickened as he braced himself. The revelation felt imminent. Was he truly prepared for the secrets that would upend everything he thought he knew? Jack felt the air thicken as he focused back on Emily. Her gaze was unwavering, yet shadows flickered across her face as she grappled with the weight of her next words. It was a moment that amplified everything. The past they had shared. The secrets they were on the verge of unearthing. It was now or never. What is it, Em? He urged gently, his own fears pooling in his stomach. You can share it with me. With a deep breath, she nodded, her fingers fiddling with her coffee cup. It's about Dad's life, and how he viewed everything, especially us. The uncertainty in her voice stirred something deep within Jack. Had his father left behind more than just the wounds of absence? A gnawing sense of catastrophe mixed with an eagerness for revelation transformed his thoughts into an ongoing storm. This could either bring closure or serve as a catalyst for a deeper, painful truth. Emily shifted in her chair, the slight tremor in her hands betraying the calm facade she attempted to maintain. He had a lot of regrets, Jack. I think he wanted to reach out to you. But there was always something that held him back. Fear, shame, maybe even love in its own twisted way. Jack's heart sank as he processed her words. His father's issues cast a long shadow over the relationships that had been systematically shelved until this moment. It seemed implausible that someone so rooted in their struggle could have wanted to connect. His mind whirred in disbelief. What makes you say that? He questioned, his tone sharper than he intended. How do you know? Because he told me, Emily replied, her voice steady despite the quaver that laced through it. I found old letters, Jack. They were written to you. A farewell of sorts. I wasn't supposed to read them, but I did. I had to understand. A whirlwind of emotions coursed through him. Anger, betrayal, curiosity. Providing context to the raw void of his childhood brought forth more questions than answers. What did he say? Jack couldn't help himself. A primal need for understanding propelled him forward. Her eyes darkened with remembrance. He spoke about not being good enough, how he wanted to break the cycle of hurt, but couldn't escape his demons. He wanted to be the father we deserved but wound up failing us both. Jack exhaled, the weight of this new reality pressing down on him. He felt a wave of empathy mixed with resentment for the father he had judged so harshly in his absence. As Emily's words hung in the air, he understood that his father's legacy held shades of both fragility and imperfection. A failing he had sensed his entire life was merely the product of a man grappling with his own inadequacies. Why didn't I ever? He struggled to formulate a thought, frustration boiling in him. Why didn't I see this before? Why was it so easy to blame him? Maybe because it's easier to distance ourselves from those we miss, to write them off as failures than wrestle with the truth they faced. But it doesn't mean we can't learn from them, Jack. Emily's gaze held his firmly, an anchor in the tumult. We have a chance to reshape the narrative, to become more. Jack felt a budding resolve within him. This conversation wasn't just about their father. It was a turning point for him. The acknowledgement of failure, of hurt, of the longing for connection. They were unearthing the broken pieces of a past he had been so eager to reject. With the long-forgotten pain surfacing, Jack felt an urgency to redefine his own path. Maybe this wasn't a death sentence handed down from the ruins of his father's life, but the raw materials for rebirth. Imagine if we could write our own story, Em. If we could finally break free from the hurt. The sharpness of his voice carried a genuine yearning now, the possibilities unfurling like the wings on a newly hatching bird. Together. As they exchanged glances filled with a newfound understanding, an electric charge hummed between them. The past and future converged, laying bare endless potential. But just as the air shifted in a rhythm of renewal, Emily's demeanor changed, her face paling as her eyes widened with dread. Jack, what if there's more? What if the letters lead to someone else? Someone who might reveal even deeper truths? His heart quickened as hope collided with apprehension. Would diving into this fate filled with uncertainty truly forge the connection he craved, or expose even darker knots woven into his lineage? The gravity of the chase for answers surged within him, as did the relentless tug of fear at what those answers might unveil. Could he face yet another potential upheaval? Only one way to find out. Jack's mind buzzed with the potential implications of Emily's words. He had spent so long tangled in his own narrative, weaving his identity around the absence that now felt like a facade cracking under pressure. The thought of uncovering more, however daunting, propelled him forward. "Are you sure you want to pursue this?" he asked, the tension in his voice unmistakable. "What if we find something that shatters everything we thought we knew?" Emily's brow furrowed momentarily, but her determination quickly returned. "We have to know, Jack. Truth is often painful, but it's also liberating. It could give us closure, or perhaps the understanding we need to embrace our past." Her resolute tone ignited something inside him. He had spent years constructing a wall around his emotional world, convinced that isolation was more comfortable than confronting pain. What if Emily was right? What if digging deeper was the key to dismantling that wall? "Okay," he finally conceded, feeling a mix of fear and excitement surge within him. "Let's find the letters. They might lead us to whoever else is involved." As they left the cafe, Jack could feel the weight of their shared mission settling heavily on his shoulders. The sun filtered through the trees lining the street, casting a warm golden hue that felt almost ironic against the storm of emotions brewing inside him. His mind wandered as they walked, contemplating how different his life could have been if he and Emily had been granted the chance to reforge their father's narrative together years ago. But maybe that opportunity had always been waiting for them, nestled in forgotten letters and undisclosed truths. "Do you think we should talk to Mom first?" Jack suggested, unsure of how to thread this new approach through the already tangled relationships. "She might have insights too, but I sense she's still holding on to her own pain," Emily replied. "If we can find these letters, we could have a better understanding to guide our conversation with her." The idea of confronting their mother sent a wave of dread coursing through him. He could practically hear her defenses rising, the delicate facade she maintained over the years threatening to shatter. He steeled himself for potential conflict, but the urgency to push through the discomfort felt greater. Upon returning to their childhood home, Jack felt nostalgia and resentment crash together violently. Each room echoed with memories, both treasured and tainted, of a life painted with shades of longing for connection. He hurried through the hallway, eyes scanning the familiar surroundings that felt both welcoming and haunting. Where would Dad have kept the letters? Emily pondered, her tone laced with a mix of eagerness and trepidation. "I remember him using the old desk in the attic for his writing," Jack recalled, a wave of memory washing over him. "It's worth checking." The attic door creaked open under Jack's push, the musty, stale air swirling around them like a specter of the past. Dust motes danced in the dim light as they groped through the clutter. Old toys, forgotten memories, vestiges of a childhood eclipsed by absence. Jack's heart raced as they rifled through dusty books and yellowed envelopes, each item an echo of a life half remembered. Doubt clawed at him, bringing forth a litany of questions. What had they been chasing? And with each letter that remained hidden, was their father's truth becoming more elusive? "Here!" Emily exclaimed suddenly, her voice ringing through the attic like a beacon. She held a bundle of yellowed letters with shaky hands, her excitement palpable. Jack took a step closer, a calm fury bubbling within him. He could feel his heart pounding against the walls of his chest. Could this one moment deliver the answers he craved? Or was it another door to pain waiting to be opened? As Emily passed the fragile stack to him, he noticed a name written on one of the envelopes that sent his entire skin prickling. His father's old friend, someone who had lived through the turmoil alongside him. Who was this person? What insights might they hold? The unanswered questions loomed larger than ever as he prepared to uncover what lay beneath the fragile paper. Would the truth revealed become their salvation, or would it unearth the shadows that had long haunted their family? The stakes climbed, intertwining Jack's heart with a desperate urgency. The moment to confront the past and redefine his narrative was at hand, but the question loomed. Was he truly ready for whatever revelations awaited him? With determination coursing through him, he took a deep breath and prepared to face the unknown. The truth was close, but with it came the demand for a personal reckoning he could no longer evade. What mysteries would these letters unveil, and would they reshape the very foundation of who he believed himself to be? Only one way to find out. With a hesitant sigh, Jack withdrew the fragile bundle of letters from Emily's grasp, their yellowed edges betraying a history long neglected. As he unfastened the twine that bound them together, he felt the weight of family secrets thrum beneath his fingertips. Each letter symbolized not just words, but years of untold stories, yearning to be unearthed. He took a moment to collect himself. Memories swirled unbidden, brushing against the edges of his mind. When was the last time he had truly understood his father? Or even sought to? For so long he had idolized the man, glorifying his absence as noble and his silence as profound. Yet, now, curiosity twisted like a knife in his gut. What had he missed? "I can't believe we're actually doing this," Emily whispered, her voice echoing their shared anticipation and dread. Jack nodded but remained silent. The weight of the letters felt monumental, as though they could rearrange the very structure of what he perceived as his reality. As he unfolded the first letter, a wave of his father's familiar, loopy handwriting flooded his vision. The letter was dated years before his absence, and with every word traced, Jack felt a different kind of connection stir within him, one less romantic and more raw. His father wrote about mundane happenings, the trivialities of life that seemed utterly foreign now. "Dear John," he began, and Jack's heart skipped. Reading those two words felt like a breadcrumb left behind, a flicker of a familial bond that had felt so distant. Jack's eyes raced over the text, absorbing not just the words their father had orchestrated, but the emotions behind them. There was something human in the detail, something that ignited a yearning to comprehend. "What does it say?" Emily asked, her breath hanging in the thick air around them. "Mostly about work, from what I can tell. He talks about... Wait." Jack's fingers halted, catching on a line buried deep in the letter. His heart hammered as he read the words aloud. "I've shared too many secrets with your mother, and it feels as though they are all weighing down on me." A shiver traced Jack's spine. Secrets. The very essence of their family structure. The dark clouds that had hovered over their lives. But what did his father mean? What secrets had been so heavy they could not be borne? Jack felt the tension coiling in the small attic space, almost palpable. Each word he read flung open new doors, revealing uncomfortable possibilities. He sensed that the path to understanding was about to branch into multiple directions, each one lined with the potential for conflict or healing. "Should we keep going?" Emily's words were hesitant yet laced with determination. Jack nodded, the uncertain thrill of discovery sparking in his chest. As they sifted through additional letters, revealing crisp pieces of history intertwined with confessions and suppressed woes, Jack felt his father taking shape before him anew. Those moments of vulnerability painted a picture of a man burdened by expectation. A father caught in a tug-of-war between duty and desire. Then, a letter caught Jack's attention, thicker than the others, and sealed with a distinct flourish. His heart raced as he carefully pried it open. The familiar handwriting spoke of a man grappling with regret, detailing a pivotal moment that may have led to his estrangement from Jack and Emily. framing it within the turmoil of youthful choices and heartache. "I can't believe this," Jack murmured, absorbing the gravity of their family history. An intricate tapestry woven with love, fear, and unfulfilled dreams. Each letter was a chance to learn, to evolve, yet it also coiled tightly around his chest like a vice. "Jack?" Emily prompted, pulling him back from his reverie. "What do you want to do with this information?" His pulse quickened, caught between the urge to shield himself from potential pain and the drive to confront it directly. This was a moment of reckoning, an opportunity to reshape not just how he viewed his father, but how he viewed himself in this chaotic lineage. Jack realized with a shuddering clarity that each revelation would force him to confront how much he carried forward his father's choices. The weight of the past, threatening to shift his own future. "There's someone who might know more about this," he proposed slowly, breathing through the anxiety churning within him. "We need to visit Dad's old friend." As Emily's eyes widened, Jack balanced on the precipice of change and confrontation. His heart was buoyed by a determination that felt foreign but invigorating. The journey into the past demanded answers, but it would unearth uncertainties he could no longer ignore. What awaited them beyond the letters, and how far would Jack go to uncover the remnants of the life they had all but buried? Each step they took now felt intertwining with destiny, thrusting them toward a confrontation with ghosts that could either illuminate or devastate. The drive to his father's old friend felt surreal. Jack's fingers tapped nervously against the steering wheel as he navigated the familiar streets of his childhood. Each block unraveled layers of nostalgia, memories sprawling in his mind like leaves in autumn. Laughter in the living room, fleeting fragments of family gatherings, moments swallowed by time. But today, the allure of those memories clashed with a shifting reality. His father's past was opening like a wound, raw and unsettling. "What do you think we'll find?" Emily asked, her tone a mix of apprehension and curiosity. The sunlight filtering through the car window illuminated her face, and Jack admired the resolve etched there. He felt uncertain yet compelled by the desire to understand the man hidden behind the letters. "The letters took us this far. There has to be more." Jack nodded, yet his heart raced with trepidation. Would this visit further unravel the delicate fabric of their father's legacy? As they arrived at the weathered house, an unassuming two-story structure nestled among towering trees, Jack paused momentarily, collecting himself. He had never met Paul Whitmore, but a truth now demanded confrontation. He was about to journey deeper into the heart of his family's past, where answers awaited, but so did the potential for more unsettling questions. The door opened, revealing a man whose age matched the stories Jack had been told. Graying hair framing a well-worn face, eyes brimming with a mix of wisdom and sorrow. "Jack, I assume?" Paul said, extending a hand. The warmth of his grip felt reassuring, prompting Jack's anxiety to flutter like a tide, momentarily receding. "Yeah, and this is my sister, Emily." "Nice to meet you," she said, her voice steadier than Jack felt. "Come inside, please. I've been expecting you." Paul's invitation led them into a dimly lit parlor filled with eclectic memorabilia. The walls were adorned with faded photographs, each frame telling stories of life and laughter. "We've got a lot to talk about," Paul remarked, gesturing for them to sit. Jack settled in, trying to ground himself in the moment. Yet as he studied the man before him, questions surged like a torrent. What had he been carrying? What burden tied him to his father? "I know why you're here," Paul began, placing a weathered hand on the table. "Your father and I shared a long friendship, and many secrets." Jack's stomach knotted. Uncertainty transformed into a visceral hunger for clarity. "Secrets?" Jack echoed, the word sour on his tongue. "What do you mean?" With a deep breath, Paul launched into a recounting of their shared years at college. Youthful arrogance, dreams of greatness, Yet the cracks beneath the surface had threatened to shatter their ambitions. Your father was brilliant, but troubled. The weight tore at him worse than anyone realized. Each word felt like a thread, unraveling a tapestry woven from pain. What kind of weight? Jack pressed, his voice edged with urgency. The kind that haunted him, Paul replied, glancing cautiously at Emily before continuing. When he spoke of secrets in his letters, he meant that he felt trapped between duty and the desire to be free. For each revelation, Jack found himself swinging between empathy and resentment. He felt the struggles of his father clawing at his own heart, questioning whether he too was wrestling with ties that bound him. Imposed expectations versus his own longing for discovery. But why didn't he share any of this with us? He asked, anger creeping into his voice. Why lay heavy burdens on our shoulders? I think he wanted to protect you both, Paul answered quietly, his gaze unwavering. He feared that the truth would unravel everything he had built. Jack wrestled with his emotions, confronting the realization that perhaps it was his father's love that led to silence, a misguided protection that had isolated them from the truth. Suddenly, an unsettling thought stirred within him. What if his father was more like him than he wished to admit? Tell me more. We need to understand what happened, Jack insisted, the plea in his voice radiating his determination to uncover the layers that define their existence. As Paul began to unveil the deeper history of Jack's father, Jack sensed a weight lifting, yet a new quest emerged. How would they redefine their future in light of these truths? Just as the conversation seemed to reach a pivotal moment, Paul paused, revealing a sense of trepidation on his face. Before we continue, there are pieces of this story that you may not want to hear. Dread filled the room. Jack met Emily's eyes, realizing they were teetering on the precipice of painful revelations. How far would they go in their pursuit of truth, and what jagged edges might they encounter along the way? As Jack braced himself for Paul's next words, a question loomed infinitely larger in his mind. How much could he handle when the truth began to emerge? The air thickened with anticipation, and every second felt like an eternity. Jack leaned forward, his heart pounding as he awaited Paul's revelations. He noticed Emily's fingers anxiously tracing the seams of her jeans, a tangible reflection of the tension in the room. Paul, after a deep breath, collected his thoughts, brows knitting together as he searched for the right words. There's something you should know about your father and me during our last year of college. Paul began, his voice steady yet solemn. We were not just friends. We were partners. Partners in something that carried the weight of our dreams, but also our mistakes. Jack's pulse quickened. The implications were profound, suggesting a shared burden that extended beyond mere friendship. What sort of partnership? He pressed, feeling a sense of urgency ripple through him. We aim to start a business, a big one. Your father had ideas that were revolutionary, visions of design and innovation that could change lives. But Paul's gaze faltered, weighing his next admission carefully. He was also heavily involved in something much darker. Financial decisions that entangled both of us in a web we couldn't escape. Jack absorbed the gravity of the statement. Are you saying he was involved in something illegal? Or unethical? The words slipped through his lips with a mixture of shock and disbelief. Not at first. Initially it was about ambition. Both of us chasing the American dream, but we quickly lost control. Your father became desperate, juggling debts and loyalty to investors who weren't what they seemed. Paul paused and Jack noticed the strain etched into his features. It disintegrated our friendship. When I realized the direction we were heading, I pulled away. Your father, he didn't speak to me after that. Regret danced in Paul's eyes, reverberating with the ghosts of unspoken truths. I loved your father like a brother, but he had demons. demons that were fueled by expectations and fears. In his letters, he hinted at feeling trapped by me, by our past choices. Jack reflected on the nuances of what Paul revealed. The feeling of being trapped resonated deeply within him, echoing the internal conflict he grappled with. A relentless drive for success at the cost of authenticity. He recalled his own relentless pursuit of a stable career, weighed against the dreams he had shelved. "What happened after you left?" Jack accused, the anger bubbling beneath his composed exterior. Did he ever find a way out? Paul sat back, fixing Jack with a steady gaze. He tried, but once you step into that world, it's easy to sink. Then came the lies. Self-deception to protect not only himself, but later, you and Emily. Anyone who knew him would have recognized the shrinking man behind the facade of success. I think he thought he could bear the weight alone. Each revelation sparked flames of confusion in Jack's mind. Thus far, he saw his father through a lens of nostalgia, a man of strength and sacrifice. Now, with these insights, shadows emaciated that image, presenting him as a frail figure cloaked in failures as much as successes. His father's love appeared burdened by the very ideals Jack once revered. "Tell me, Paul, what was he really afraid of?" Jack's voice trembled, a deeper inquiry urging forth. He was afraid that if the truth came out, it would dismantle everything. His image, his family, his legacy. It would all unravel. And while he acted to protect you from knowledge, I believe he also wanted to shield himself from failure. Paul met Jack's gaze, as if imploring him to understand the complexity of fear and love intertwined. Jack felt suffocated by realization. What if he too was forging a path littered with shadows? He had always believed that uncovering his father's truths would bring understanding, yet now he sat on the edge of a growing abyss, a chasm of inherited burdens waiting to swallow him whole. Emily broke the silence that followed, her voice shaking. "Is that why he never told us more? Because he was afraid of how it would change us?" "Exactly. The tragedy lies in how well he meant to protect you," Paul replied somberly. Jack's mind spiraled, tangling his perception of how love could simultaneously generate both strength and fear. The struggle within him intensified, deepening an awareness of the choices he must confront regarding his own life, and whether he'd tread the same unfathomable waters. As if sensing his turmoil, Paul leaned in, lowering his voice. "What are you willing to uncover in your journey? What truths do you seek, and are you ready to face the fallout?" Jack inhaled deeply, the looming question amplifying the stakes of what lay ahead. Clarity resolved within him, urging him forward through this exploration of his father's legacy, and, more importantly, through the examination of his own. He raised his chin, determination igniting a fire in his gut. "Whatever it takes, I need to know. I need to understand what it means for me." Paul nodded, and as he prepared to unveil yet another layer of his father's story, Jack felt the grip of foreboding tighten around him. The next chapter awaited, ripe with hazards yet promising revelations. As if timed perfectly, Paul murmured, "There's one last piece to this. What you uncover might redefine everything you thought you knew." That statement hung in the air like a warning. What awaited Jack at the end of this pursuit could either liberate him or condemn him further, and only time would reveal the truth. Jack sat upright, his chest tightening as he grappled with the weight of Paul's words. The room felt smaller. The atmosphere thickened with anticipation as another crucial revelation loomed. Would this last piece truly help redefine everything he believed about his father and himself? Paul took a deep breath, almost as if steeling himself for what he was about to share. "Before your father passed," he began, "he wrote to me one last time, asking for assistance, guidance. He felt trapped, Jack, burdened by regrets, secrets he had never shared with you. But he also expressed a hope the hope to find redemption. Jack's heart raced. Redemption seemed a far-off concept, blurring with the shadows of loss and confusion. What kind of redemption? He pressed, urgency threading through his voice. He wanted to make amends, in his own way. He hoped to reinstate the connection with you and Emily. But the weight of everything left him paralyzed. In the letters I received, he spoke of a desire to come clean about his past. The financial mess, his fears, the yearning with which he'd built a life around facade. The rage burned within Jack, an ignition propelling him toward confronting the man he had idolized, yet felt betrayed by. Why didn't he follow through? Why not reach out? The guilt had him in a chokehold. Each passing moment was filled with fear. Fear that the truth would only push you away further. Paul squeezed Jack's shoulder, an empathetic gesture filled with gravity. He didn't realize that the very act of honesty might have brought you closer together. Jack felt a wave of empathy wash over him toward a father he had spent a lifetime resenting and underestimating. The ache of knowing that his father had battled the same demons, the relentless pursuit of success devoid of emotional fulfillment, stung deeper than any prior judgment he had cast. Would he too become a vessel for silence, straddling the line between ambition and vulnerability? Where is it? Is there more? Jack felt his determination surge once more, intertwining with compassion for the man who had unwittingly sculpted him. Paul nodded, an unmistakable sadness etched into his features. I still have it. The last letter and evidence of what he was hoping to leave behind. He wanted you both to understand that regardless of the distance between you, he loved you. The truth hung heavily in Jack's mind. This idea of love, intertwined with regrets. Can I see it? Jack's voice was resolute and clear, longing to break down walls that decades of silence had built. As Paul rummaged through an old drawer, Jack's emotions cascaded forth. A blend of fear, anticipation, and anger. The remnants of conversations, the snippets of his father's struggles, each felt poised to rewrite their family narrative. At last, Paul retrieved a tattered envelope sealed tightly, its edges frayed from years of neglect. Here it is, he said, handing it over delicately. It was meant for you both. Jack held it gingerly, the weight of untold emotions vibrating through his fingertips. He glanced to Emily, their eyes locked, the gravity of the moment cascading between them. Open it, she urged. Her quiet encouragement reminded him of days spent anxiously unwrapping gifts, but this was a very different kind of present. The kind that could offer closure, or open even broader wounds. With trembling hands he tore the envelope open, removing the contents carefully. Pausing, he inhaled deeply, bracing himself for the emotional storm that might follow. The words leapt off the page, each one a pulse of his father's spirit, flowing with anguish and love alike. Dear Jack and Emily, it began. If you're reading this, I'm not there with you. I've made choices that have led us all to this moment. Jack's heart raced, each line pouring his father's secrets into the light, illuminating even the darkest corners of shame. I am deeply sorry for the shadows my choices created. I wanted to be your father, your guide, but I let fear dictate my actions. I feared not living up to the man you deserved. Tears welled in Jack's eyes, blurring the ink before him. The recognition of a shared struggle, the dance between expectation and authenticity, lingered in every word. I was afraid of failing you, afraid of showing my failures would only push you away. I can only hope you find the strength to forgive. As the emotional tide swept through him, Jack felt clarity blooming amidst his pain, a realization blossoming that success went beyond accolades. It lay in authenticity, connection, and growth. His father's vulnerability steered Jack toward an imperative truth. To rewrite his narrative, he must embrace his own vulnerabilities. Folding the letter, Jack felt a wave of acceptance wash over him. The pain of the past could be a catalyst for change, forging a bridge to a future defined not by what was lost, but by the strength they harnessed to rebuild a legacy of love and honesty. "Are you okay?" Emily's voice grounded him, her concern genuine. "More than okay," Jack replied, his voice steadier now. He looked into her eyes, and for the first time in a long time, he felt a deep sense of connection, not just with her, but with his own heart. "We can honor Dad's truth, embrace this history." Paul's presence radiated warmth. "It's about understanding now, moving forward. Use this letter, use this connection to grow together." What had once felt chaotic now started to reveal a vision. His newly defined success leading toward emotional truth, bridging gaps that time had left. Jack left the conversation with more than just unresolved feelings. He carried the power of choice, the power of legacy, aligned with his father's own search for redemption. "I want to tell him I forgive him," Jack mused, feeling empowered by the reflection of endurance. "Then do it," Paul encouraged, a wise smile crossing his lips. "It's important to reach out, to embrace the messy journey we all share in grappling with past failures, and to open our hearts to the healing that's possible." Armed with newfound intention, Jack stepped out into the crisp air, each breath fortifying his resolve. He would embrace the holiday with the same spirit his father had attempted to recapture, a spirit of family and unconditional love. And as the snow continued to cover the landscape with its gentle blanket, Jack resolved to not just honor his father, but to honor himself, choosing to rewrite the story of his past and redefine what legacy meant for his family. One that acknowledged the strength in vulnerability and demonstrated that time spent in the pursuit of what truly matters could weave a more powerful narrative than any facade ever could. They had a family to rebuild, a tale to tell anew, and as his heart brimmed with hope, Jack finally understood that it wasn't too late to forge genuine connections, and that love remained the most transformative truth, always there to be rediscovered. Now it's your turn to embark on your own journey of truth and empowerment. You need to subscribe now to the channel. This is the moment to show your support and ensure you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and amplify these insightful narratives. Comment your reactions and theories about this powerful conclusion. What lessons resonate with you? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative journey. Don't wait even one more second. Your engagement matters.